Antoine is going to be crowned your WOR Season 10 champion.
And history's been made. Ballina, the first WOR PS4 champion. What a championship, what a season. phenomenal.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to WOR Season 11. We've got 4 rounds remaining, 3 new tracks to go to, and the first one of those new tracks is Portugal, where we are tonight, and it is bound to be an absolute cracker. Now, Ronha, Shadow, Mexico. What a crazy coming together, and what a Mexican Grand Prix we had for us as well. But these two, again, going head-to-head battles throughout. I am certain of that, and once again I'm joined by Beacon for this rundown of everything. And Beacon, welcome. I know it's been 2 weeks since we last had anything here, but I'm really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, hello everybody, pleasure to be back as always. And like you say, it's been a long 2 weeks since we last had some racing, but look, I stand by that this is probably one of the most exciting leagues going on this game at the moment. So, and to boot, we have an incredibly close and tightly contested championship battle that's going to continue right to the end, hopefully. Shadow has the chance today to pull himself within, about 6 points of Ronha with a win. And, you know, that's assuming Ronha comes P2. But recently, we've been seeing a lot more drivers creeping up into the top and really putting themselves in the mix. And I believe we also have the return of Sparks, don't we?
Yeah, this is a huge one. Technically, Square and Sparks are still with a chance of claiming this title. They're, Square 54, Sparks 51 points behind. Considering Sparks hasn't raced for 3 races, that's quite an achievement for him. But, 4 rounds remaining, over 100, it's 100 points on offer for someone if they were to win all 4 races. And if Square or Sparks does that, they're in with a chance. However, the way things usually go at this point in a season, it's usually the two that are closest with that larger gap, and that's why the focus is on Ronha and Shadow.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see, it's not been a great season for Square, has it? His actual pace in the races has been absolutely phenomenal, and he deserves to be in this championship fight. Only issue is, somewhere in each of these races, it just seems to go wrong for him. He's lost out on so many points through things that are either a mistake by himself or just getting in contact with someone else. And it's just not gone well at all. Square deserves to be a lot higher, and he'll definitely be in the mix today, I imagine. Because, he's absolutely a rapid driver. He's actually racing, isn't he? I can't see him on the actual list. Is he actually racing? I can't see him on the list. Is he not actually there?
I cannot.
No, I don't think he is. No.
This could be curtains for him. This could be curtains.
Yeah, that should be it in the championship, shouldn't it?
Yeah. So that's
even if Ronha and Shadow don't score points, like that won't even be a saving grace. He needs to close in each of the races to go, really. So yeah, I reckon that's it for Square's championship hopes. But Sparks, he's 3 points closer, and he's here today. So let's see what he can do. Will we see a continuation, not necessarily of the Alfa Romeos of Shadow and Sparks working together? Will it be, now they're not in the same team, maybe a little less organised between the two, and just sort of, typically we saw Sparks or Shadow, whichever one was behind when they were in the Alpha, basically just sitting back and let the other one lead. That could potentially change a little bit now.
Now, breaking news, I suppose you could say, Square is having issues with getting on, so he is meant to race tonight.
Oh, right.
He's having issues, so that's something that we're unfortunately used to with this game at this present moment in time. There's been a few times this season when it kicks us out. It kicked us both out in the past as well.
We won't mention the US. We're not going to finish.
And I'm sure Square doesn't want the US Grand Prix to be mentioned anyway. But we are here, Portugal, 15 circuits. Technically, its first Grand Prix was in 2020, in the lockdown year, I suppose you could call it. I believe it's 33 laps here, and I mean, people's strategies are going to. This is going to be weird because it's quite fresh track for these league races. Strategy is going to be a key thing.
Yeah, it absolutely will. It normally plays a part in basically every single race. So, You know, and it's one of the newer tracks. I think, you know, that issue's going to be bigger at Jeddah because potentially most of the grid won't have done enough races to really test strategy there. But yes, it'll be interesting today just to see what the strategy is because I assume there is a quickest way of doing it, but I've only done one race here, and that was probably about a month ago now. So I'm going to be brutally honest, don't quite remember it.
Now, what I will recommend to people, and these guys probably don't need a recommendation from me, is not to have the ERS on too soon, round turn 15, because you will do what I did in a league race and go sideways into the pit wall, and that is not a good thing to do. Anyway, these guys are getting ready to get out, and we'll look at it very, very soon on how it all pans out and what best tyre strategy to go on and who's going to do what. But before we go there, guys in the chat, what do you reckon? How do you think this one's all going to pan out in qualifying? Who's going to claim pole? And more importantly, Beacon, how about yourself? What's your thoughts on this one?
So that's a very difficult question, and I really don't know the Portugal pace of the driver. So this will be an interesting one. I'm gonna go with I really don't know where to go. Let's say, you know, let's do something a bit more fun. Should we say Alfie pole? I'm gonna go with that.
Well, I was gonna go. I was thinking along those lines. You know, the Alfie who showed good pace and Dark Killer, but there's no Dark Killer tonight.
Yeah, Dark's not here. No, that was my first thought, and then I realised he wasn't here either.
So maybe Alfie, but maybe someone with a little bit of pedigree behind them as well. And I'm thinking LCR Leopard can really show something different. You know, it's a new track, and from what I've seen in the past, he's pretty quick at picking up a new thing. So maybe for him, you know, it's time to show something as we are really waiting for someone to pop out on track, and we have got someone now. So let's go on board, and a few new. Well, I say a few new names. The grid's a little bit different to what we're used to. So a few unusual names in there. There's no Viper, so Lutter's taken his place. Critch is coming in the McLaren as well. And Choco's back as well. The Ferraris, however, are still the same. And I know we speak about this week in, week out on the streams. But, you know, can the Ferraris turn it around this time round?
Look, we've been saying that all season. Breakthrough race where it doesn't go wrong for them, and time again it's just not happening. Can today be the day? That's the question. And honestly, you know, judging by how some of these Ferrari races have gone so far, we could be getting, you know, 5 laps to go still. They're running really well, and then both of them end up out the race. It's just gone wrong so many times this season. You know what? Let's say we're going to get one of them in the top 7. That's going to be my prediction. I think today's the day. One of them are going to get a decent result. And has Chile has finally picked up points, hasn't he? He did. Yeah, he did. He picked up that podium. So Chile, despite brilliant pace in pre-season, I remember saying pre-season. I don't think you did a pre-season race. I remember saying basically, he was absolutely rapid. He was racing with the top guys. He was absolutely there, and we thought, yeah, he's going to be right up there, championship contention, and it just hasn't happened. He's retired from so many races, and you know, honestly, at the start of the season, if someone said Chile, having competed in 6 races, would have only got 1 points finish, I would not have believed that at all.
Yeah, I remember watching that pre-season race and thinking, that's, you know, trying to do my homework on these drivers, and I'm thinking, you know what, Chile, doing well, you know, one to definitely watch out for. And, you know, I was thinking at the time, the 2 Alfa Romeos as Sparks at the time, with Shadow, definitely ones to watch, and Ronha. And then we really got a surprise, unfortunately, from Chile, not the best one, but then Alfie, really, and Connor, doing something incredible at Bahrain. And I suppose that is just showing the greatness of this league and the quality we've got throughout, that they can do something different. But Choco just about to finish his lap coming through turn 15, and what can he do as the early pace setter, I suppose you could say. It's a 16.1, and I think that's going to be, no disrespect to him, probably towards the lower end of the time scales. I know there's plenty of life still to go, as Luca manages a 16.5. So, you know, early doors, I think it's a standard lap, and I think these guys will be going quicker. I think looking at the chat, a lot of people saying soft medium is an easy one or medium soft, and I think that's what we're going to be looking at on the alternative strategy. The people outside of the top 10 definitely starting on those mediums if they can to try something different and point the way, really.
Yeah, it's a short and pretty quick lap here, so it's not one of the higher deg tracks that we go to. Looking around, Shadow's not set a great first time, but I assume that was more of not an invalidation, but a mistake somewhere, so he's going to be giving it another go. A lot of drivers seem to be struggling just with the rear end on the exit of the corners, and that's the thing here, there's so many just shifts in elevation, it really does destabilise the rear, and we're going to see a lot of that. It's really important that you keep the car pointing the right way, or at least near the right way at all times, otherwise, you're just going to be losing time. Clemenceau's just got himself up into P5, and I think it's important to note we do actually have Lutt on the grid today, who in the one race he's competed in this year, he won. So, the one race he's finished that he competed in this year, he's won, should I say. So, if he can finish a race, it's looking pretty good for him statistically, but yeah, that's interesting as well. He could definitely be a shout for a pretty good finish, but he's still in the pit lane, so I don't know whether he's, not going to qualify or going to come out on a... Well, I don't want to say a set of mediums because it'd be nowhere near the top 10. I know he's rapid, but that would be impressive. So maybe he's going to try to do a last... as I say that, he comes out the pit lane on the set soft. So there we go. Lutt is joining the track in a moment. See, but yeah, at the moment, it's service resumed from the start of the season. We've got Ron Ha narrowly leading Sparks.
Yeah, that is usual sort of thing here going on. But look at Choco, Matthew, and Logic. Look how close they are with Matthew and Logic on the exact same time.
Wow.
But I am on board with Square. He's managed to get in. What can he do? Obviously, like the talking point is obviously him trying to maintain and stay in the championship fight. And at the moment, he only manages a P13 with a 16.5.
Yeah, it's not a fantastic lap there, but he's definitely got more in reserve, a lot in the bag to play with. So, and he'll probably still get another. He'll still get 2 more runs in. So the session is by no means over for him. Leopard, he hasn't had a fantastic lap. Neither's Critch really. They'll both be looking to do a bit better. He's actually validated his next run, Critch. So I think he'll be coming into the pit lane anyway. Looking around the rest of the grid, is there anyone who's actually on a lap? Maybe Logic, but I think no, he's not. He'll be coming into the pit lane. So I think, yeah, at the moment we're just waiting for the next bunch to start their laps by the looks of it.
And one of those is Chile. We've spoken about him quite a lot today already. Maybe a little bit of good luck charm, our talks about him, but let's see how he can handle the pressure through all this. Obviously, there's a lot of talk with him and obviously Shazoo from us. And obviously what happened last week, we won't go into details with too much of that, but Chile, I mean, we'll talk about it, and he's purple in sector 1, so the pace is still there. It's just luck, mate.
Yeah, he's locked up though, and he's gone a little bit deep and not got a great exit, so I think any sort of advantage he did have, he might have lost. This will be interesting though, but as he keeps going round the lap now, here we go, really tricky corner, the rear end, trying to step out, and oh, Chile, very well done to save that. That was a massive snap of oversteer, very, very well held. As we climb up the hill now, then a long sweeping right-hander as we now descend, and there's another big snap of oversteer. The drivers are really struggling with that out there today. It's been a common theme throughout a lot of the laps, but Chile, it was a great start, but it has, as the track has, just fallen away.
Unfortunate for the Ferrari driver, and this is where a lot of drivers, I think there's going to be more tuning and on this track that we've seen for a lot of people, and he just sits behind his teammate Luca at the time, being Lutt, then with invalidate his time. So with 9.5 minutes remaining, there is not much time, and I wonder if he will go again or if he'll just post the time to see what he actually would have done. And I mean, he's on 120, so it's probably not going to be a very good time at all. Let's have a look at Plakey. He's coming through P10 currently, the Haas driver. Quite
not bad.
Well, only 3/10 away from his teammate, so it'll be interesting to see what he can produce.
Yeah, it's not a bad lap for Plakey at all. So again, like he'll be looking to improve as this session goes on. He'll be looking to improve on this lap. We'll wait to see what his sector 2 split is in a moment's time. He's just got to try to navigate the corners a little bit more successfully than Chile managed. A lot cleaner on the exit as we climb up the hill. Now let's see as the track starts to fall away in just a moment if he doesn't get any overs. There we go. That is so much nicer. You just see the rear end not stepping out at all. and the front's really holding on. So Plakey, he's about a 10th up at the moment, which will see him move up ahead of Alfie even. So, you know, P8 for that Haas car, not bad at all. Let's see as he comes round the final corner what he's going to manage. It's a long run up to the line. Is he going to come into pit lane? No, he wasn't. He was taking the shortest line then. I thought for a moment he might carry on, but as he does, then go up into P9, overtaking Wilson, who himself has actually invalidated his lap, so he won't improve for a minute.
So coming into turn number 7 and 8, probably two of the tricky sectors, well, corners of the track. Turn 8 can really snap you out, just like it did Chile earlier on. And then straight in turn 9, pretty average. And then it's really a blind turn 10. And then turn 11, the apex. You've got to hit it perfectly, and you've got to not maybe take too much curb, because again, it will spin you out. And Raceway really struggling with that. And I think not going to go faster on that lap time. And surprisingly, Shadow down in 19th place with not a competitive lap time right now.
No, not at all. Of course, we saw in that first round he did make a mistake. He's currently 10 seconds up on his lap, so we can expect a little bit of an improvement. Obviously, he needs to gain a little bit more, but I have no doubt at all that he is going to be able to as he comes round the final corner, using as much of the curb, not taking as tight a line on the exit, running out a little bit more wide, which does increase travel distance, but that doesn't matter to the Alfa Romeo driver. He puts himself on provisional pole by just about 300ths of a second, so there's nothing in it at all. But Shadow, nonetheless, currently P1.
Possibly the qualifying master Shadow, but Ronha straight away is going to react. What will he do? It is quicker by 2/10 a second. Oh well, 1.5 away.
Yeah, good 1.6 or so.
It's quicker.
What else is going on? Anyone else seems to be improving? Matthew, I think, might be starting a lap. Critch is apparently half second up on that last one, but I think that's a split to his last lap, actually. I think same story for Logic by the looks of it. There's not really... Who's just popped themselves up? There was Alfie. Alfie's just put himself up into P4, which isn't bad at all. My qualifying shout. I don't think he's quite going to manage it based on at the moment. But, you know, he's only got to find about a quarter of a second and he'll be there. Raceway is he improving? I'm not sure. I hate how this game is quite bad with the splits. If they've just finished a lap, it comes up with the improvement anyway. Sparks, there we go, not bad at all. His teammate had just gone right next to him on the grid, but Sparks, having none of that, putting himself right up into provisional pole. So there we go, it's the top 3 from the start of the season and all of those races early on. They're back together, the trio reunited. But Logic has actually got himself up into P4, so that's not bad at all either.
Yeah, I was going to mention that, you know, the two Alpines side by side, and then Logic displaced one of them, and now Sparks decided to go pole. But it is crucially, though, on 2 laps on those softs, so he had to take another bite of the cherry to really go for it. But there's plenty of time left of the qualifying to go. I am on board with Clenzo and see what he can do as he's just about to start his lap time as the Mercedes driver. Obviously, still a little bit to prove this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, he's got the pace, and a frustration that we see from him a lot is he's always, I think the joke is about 6/10 off of his personal best. So, I don't know, maybe just some issues to actually really get that performance out when he's under pressure. And that's a big thing that drivers need to unlock, it is being able to pull out the lap times when it really matters. And that's potentially something he hasn't quite got yet, but you know, if he really can unlock it and have the race pace to boot, then he's very much up there and an incredibly competitive driver. I mean, he already is, and he's been hovering around the points in pretty much every race so far this season. So, it won't be a surprise at all to see that continue. But this lap's looking fairly neat so far. Not the smoothest, but definitely no massive mistakes. We'll have to see what his Sector 2 split's like in just a moment, because that grid is so close at the moment. 10th and a half will put him all the way up into P7. So a small improvement here could be worth it. He's up 700 so far, so we'll see what he can do as he rounds off the lap.
Yeah, he could displace Wilson. We saw how quick, or how much quicker people are in that third sector, the later, the longer this session goes on. So plenty still to play for, and Clenzo could really maybe displace his teammate with everything going on. He's taken a tight line, which we've seen a lot, and it's only P10 though. Agonisingly close to WR.
That's so close as well. Yeah, that would be annoying. But is he going to get another run in, or has he just gone really early? I don't know if he's fueled for another run or not. That would be quite surprising. I just think he's gone quite early here. He might be able to get in the pits actually thinking about it and just get out again, but again, that might be a little bit of a struggle as well. We'll have to see how that goes. Looking around, Lotz validated his lap, so that's not good for the Aston Martin driver at all. Tribbian he's just improved by half a second, but still remains right at the back, and I don't think there's anyone else on lap.
Though WR Connor, probably the first of the final runners to go for it. Let's see what he can do down the start-finish straight. And this is quite a nice little start-finish straight, really. That first corner, it's like a right angle, but you can carry a lot of pace through it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit of a unique corner in that way, but just the way it's set up, and it's a nice wide exit, and that's the most important thing. If the track was more narrow, it'd be probably a heavy braking zone like you see at Baku in the first sector. But because there's just so much runoff, you can go so wide you can. It's a really quick corner, and it makes it quite difficult to get moves done as well.
Difficult and easy. It's a weird one because sometimes the driver, whichever driver it is, could be a bit too apprehensive and give it a little bit, too much braking early on. But we're not here about the race yet. Let's see what qualifying do. Keep throwing up who you think is going to get pole. Currently, Sparks is in that position, but there's still plenty of time left of 2.5 minutes as Connor actually gives up on his lap time. And there goes Luca as well. I think maybe a little bit, not put off by the slowing down Williams, but just, one of those. Nothing either of them could do about it.
No, that's a little bit unlucky and a bit annoying for Luca as well, but he should get another run in, hopefully. Obviously, he's just going to have some slightly more worn tyres, so he might lose a 10th or two. In Luca's position at the moment, I'll be aiming for, just a 1 or 2 place improvement. I don't think he's going to pop it right up into the top end, so try the alternate strategy, try to be as high up as possible in that sense. Who is improving? It's not giving me the splits for half the drives. That's really useful. Raceway just went across the line. He improved by 1.5 points, picked himself in P7. Looking around the rest, it's refusing to show me the splits today, which is quite annoying. It's normally quite good, but saying about Portimao, I don't think it likes it too much. That's Matthew crossing line. He was 800ths down. Oh no, he was 800ths up actually. He gained a lot of time in the last sector on that lap, so Matthew picking himself P7. Square on that last lap was 3.5 tenths up, so he's put himself up into P9 as well.
Yeah, so Matthew displaced Square a little bit, and it's interesting to see what kind of pace Square is going to produce this week. Some really great race pace, and his qualifying pace has been there or thereabouts, but not so far in Portimao. But Shadow up in Sector 2. This is the one I'm watching as he comes through turn 15. What can Shadow do? Will he produce a time that will claim pole once again?
Oh no,
it does not.
Not even displacing Ronha. So that seems to be P3 at best for Shadow now, because he's not going to get another run in with his ERS, only at 20%, and he's invalidated the lap anyway, so that's it. Ronha has equally invalidated his lap, but he should have enough time to cross the line and give it another go. As Sparks, he is just starting his lap 2, I believe, or had just finished. I'm not entirely sure. He might have invalidated, but giving it another go.
There is someone in the wall at the start-finish straight. That's a really
is it
interesting...
Connor? I believe it's Connor. I don't know how. Is he taken too tight a line and hit the pit wall, or I'm not sure what would have gone on there.
Well, Wilson was not able to improve either. So, there's a few drivers really struggling to improve with qualifying pretty much over and done with. These guys that are on a lap have got a little bit of work to do. Let's go on Logic. He's on fresh tyres as he comes through the final part of the corner now. This is 14 and into 15. Matthew has retired from the session. He knows he's not going to go any further. Luca's done the same as well. Connor was retired and Tribbian has as well early on. Luca in the pits. Logic knows he's going to go no further, so into the pits for him. Anyone else that could potentially cause problems? It's not going to be Clenzo because he has invalidated his lap time. What can Lutz do then as he comes through into 13? A corner that I quite like, but also despise at the same time. Through into 14 and quite a tight line, but it doesn't look like he's pushing as hard as he could do through there. We'll have to wait and see as he finishes off 13. How tight does he get to the pit lane? It's very, very tight. Can he improve? He can't.
No, it doesn't. Oh, Ronhar's actually just lost it at the final corner. He was down on his up anyway. Ronhar has absolutely destroyed his car. That's a big mistake. He will not be looking to repeat that in the race. Square coming to the pit lane. Clenzo's going to cross the line, but his lap was validated anyway. He set a 16.0. That would have been an improvement, and it would have been enough to put him P7s. That is so annoying. But he's got P11 anyway, so he's the best of the alternate strategy runners, and with pace like that, he could definitely get a good middle of the points finish, I imagine. And that is that qualifying session over. So Sparks, on his return, coming in and claiming pole.
So Sparks showing that he's lost no sort of skill, and well, what a lap from Sparks, just eking it away from Ronhar. And you do have to wonder if Ronhar would have been able to beat that, but we were kind of robbed of the battle of the three of them, with Sparks leaving for a few weeks. But he's back now and he's taken pole. Ronhar in second place and Shadow in third. In fourth place is Logic, with Alfie in fifth. Sixth going to Choco, Matthew in seventh. Eighth to Wilson, Raceway ninth, and Square rounding up the top 10. Everyone outside of this position will be starting on fresh tyres, and that's Square, Clenzo, Placky, Chili, Critch, Leopard, Lut, Luca, Connor, Nico, and last there for Trivion. So they all start on the fresh tyres. And are we going to go with like medium tyres for these guys? For that
outside the top 10, yes, yeah, that should be the medium runners, I'd imagine. So, yeah, that'd be interesting. Obviously, you'll see at the end of the race. It's not too. Sorry, I've got a bit of thing going on. That teaches me to eat before a stream. Yeah, but basically we've got a situation where the top 10, they're gonna have the advantage early on as normal, and the alternate strategy is gonna be strong at the end. But the quickest drivers are at the front, and over the course of the race, I imagine the top 4 or 5 will be clear from the medium starters. So, I think the likes of Clenzo can definitely end up sort of P6, 7, 8 region. Should definitely be quicker at the end, and hopefully we have a little bit of action because of it.
Now, is it me, or those windows in the top right of your screen, does it look like it's being rained on?
It does, doesn't it? That's a weird graphical glitch, if not, but that absolutely does look like they're being rained on.
I wonder if that is a hint.
I don't know though. I think it's going on in the background as well with the other window. I've never noticed that before. I hate that you've mentioned that, because I'm going to see that every single time I do a stream now.
Apologies, but they're pretty quick through into this. They want to get this race over and done with.
Yeah, that's a surprise. We're normally waiting a minute or so, aren't we?
Yeah. So let's have a look at the race directory. I don't usually do this, but just to check the tyres. But everyone is doing that medium strategy. Game saying it's a 2-stop. It's definitely not.
No.
Unless it's something.
Unless someone really goes
about. There is a safety car, and that is something that is possible here. We've seen people lose it out of 15, 2 people on a really, really fast lap. So, maybe not.
No, that's a good point. And of course, it's not a track where on the face of it you'd imagine we're going to get a safety car, but the speeds are so high that if you do go off the track, it's very easy to just basically career into one of those walls, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. And if you're unlucky, you can be out of the race, and then we will get a safety car. And it does. I don't know if I want to see a safety car, because I always just love watching the alternate strategy play out, because the normal formula for a league race works quite well, but sometimes a safety car at the right time really can create something special. If it's in the crossover period between where the mediums and the softs are going to work best, and it's a little bit murky between which one's better, that's when it's really good. So, if we're going to get one, I want it around that point, because that normally shapes up a brilliant race.
Right then, chat, let us know who you think is going to take victory here at Portimao, as it's that Ronhart going really, really wide. I don't know what's going on there. He's now back on the track.
Off the track. Oh, and there's collision there. And that means, I assume, himself and Shadow are going to be starting on cold tyres today, which could give Logic and Alfie a great chance in the run down to turn 1, and Sparks might be breathing a sigh of relief, because he should theoretically get a better launch here.
Right, quick word. Who's going to take victory, Beacon?
I'm going to say Sparks. I reckon he's got the pace. He's going to come back in really strong and go, look, I've still got it. I know he's been on PC. He hasn't not been playing, but he's still got it on the Xbox. So I'm going to go with him.
Fair enough. I know.
I'm being a bit boring, but
I don't think it's a boring answer at all. Not when you've got Ronha and Shadow raced right behind you. But Sparks, yeah, great resolve. Great resolve, I think, is possibly the best way to say it for him. Maybe just adding a little bit of spice for the final 4 rounds if he's here for all of it. But we'll wait for the lights. We'll wait for it all to go here in Portimao. And we wait. There we go. 3, 4, 5 red lights. And it's go! And finally we're away. And that's a really, really poor start from both Ronha and...
As expected.
Shadow there, and they are swamped off this line. Logic into P2, and what a start from Choco into P3, fighting with Shadow, trying to keep on board. But Ronha has really, really dropped out, and Shadow trying his best to keep up. And look at this from behind. There is just a cluster of cars, everyone trying to get past. And Square's got himself in there. Ronha's desperate to defend him as well.
Oh, there's surely going to be contact. How was that not contact?
I think
that was so close. I'm not sure I've seen the off-board.
But Shadow has now been passed by Square. Square up into P4 doesn't want to give this title up just yet.
No, absolutely not, but there's a massive snap of oversteer on the exit. I don't know if this is going to allow Shadow the chance. I don't think it will. But we said about the tyre temperatures on Ronha. Shadow losing 2 off the grid. Ronha losing 4 off the grid. So that has not gone well at all for the 2 championship leaders. And at the moment, as things sit with another 32 and a bit laps to go, Shadow has closed in on Ronha slightly in the championship, but Ronha looking very racy behind that Alfa Romeo at the moment. We have a yellow, and actually around the outside, Ronha potentially there. He was carrying a little bit more speed mid-corner. Let's see if he's going to use his ERS to try to get ahead of his championship rival, and importantly, probably in this race, Square as well. I don't think it's going to happen, but Shadow is giving it a go on Square, on the Alpha Tauri. This should be pretty easy, because Square not doing too much to defend, and Shadow moving himself back up into P4, and he's only got 1 place to go to recover from that start. Choco's still up into P3, Logic P2, and Sparks leads the race still.
So Alfie, I think there was something wrong there because he's gone into the pits, and I think that is now change territory as Square has to defend.
And there's contact as well.
And there's just not enough room, and I think Ronha might be a little bit peeved with that one, but at the moment still holding station. There doesn't look like there's damage on that Red Bull at the moment, but he's got to get past the sister Alpha to make sure Shadow doesn't get away, but Square is in the way at the moment, and the 3 above nearly checking out from this Grand Prix.
Yeah, at the moment, Shadow, he's got to try to reel in that top 3, and at the moment he's doing an okay job of it, but he does just need to keep marching forward, basically. Try to extend on Square, because when DRS comes into play, it's going to become really difficult, because the DRS train still quite strong. It's a little bit less than we see in other tracks this year, but it's still definitely there. Out front, we're still looking at Logic. He's not quite able to close. White Choc actually setting the fast lap. Now Shadow stealing the fastest lap of the race. So Shadow is reading in on these guys. Square is being dragged along with him, and Ronha as well. And then look, right behind that, there's not a second gap all the way down to Tribian, right down in P19.
So this 13-point gap that Ronha has over Shadow is being eaten into in this current state. But on lap 3, with over 30 laps to go, anything's possible. And we've seen it continually in WR, where just things happen that goes badly for either championship rival. But this is going perfectly for Sparks right now. He's at half a second in the lead and controlling this race, maybe.
Yeah, he's doing a pretty good job. He's kept a good store of ERS as well to defend with when DRS comes into play. He's got a good 30% on Logic behind. Unfortunately, though, when DRS does come into effect, that's not going to last particularly long. I think I might have disconnected from the session, but can you still hear me fine?
Yeah, I can hear you. Connor has left the session.
Brilliant. I guess it's Connor. Okay, right. I assumed after my technical issues yesterday that was my Xbox giving up on me again. But no, Connor has left the session, so that's a shame for himself. He's now right at the back. But sorry, I thought I was going to be talking to dead air then for a minute, if the internet had gone. But we still have now the likes of Logic. He's going to be closing in on Sparks down these long straights, but Sparks still keeping a good store of ERS, like we were saying before. And if anything, Choco looks like he can push a little bit more on Logic at the moment, and Shadow has got himself within DRS range. And Ronha, after getting past Square, is outside of DRS range on his championship rival as well. But surely, as Shadow approaches that pack, Ronha is going to close in as well.
Yeah, I think that was the crucial thing. Square didn't have the DRS to defend from Ronha down the start-finish straight, and which allowed Ronha just to breeze past. But he's already nearly within a second of Shadow, and Shadow's teetering on the edge of that second to Choco. So plenty still to play for, but I think he's bringing it in now, and this DRS train is slowly coming back into effect. And Sparks is... I think this could be just Sparks just maybe playing with the field a little bit.
Yeah, potentially at the moment it does like he's controlling the pace fairly well. It's beneficial for him to have a DRS train behind, so if he is going to, just sort of slow down just a little bit, keep the field dragging along with him, not drive off into the distance, then I think that's probably the best way to do it. Because now it's going to make it really hard for Ronha and Shadow to progress, because, the cars ahead have the exact same bonus down the straight.
Let's just see how it goes. I think Ronha is going to take the fastest lap, and he does. And
Good bit of clean air.
Just that little bit of clean air between him and Shadow has helped. But Shadow pulled away a little bit down the start-finish straight there. So maybe there was a mistake, and Ronha can go quicker because,
I imagine Shadow was just a little bit closer to Choco than Ronha was to Shadow. So I guess that's just a little bit more of the slipstream playing a part for Shadow, I imagine. But look behind Sparks. Sparks just keeping far enough away for Logic to not really be a threat at the moment, controlling it very well. But equally, Logic's got some great pace. I think it might be Choco who's a bit of the cork here, but equally he's absolutely there and he's keeping up with the guys in front. I just think he's the least likely to maybe be able to make a move at this moment in time. That could change so quickly. Shadow still trying to reel them in, and as I say, that Logic's just got a little bit slow, got a bit of oversteer, and Choco's right on the back of him. So there's so much that can go on this race, and at the moment it still can go any way.
Definitely. And a little bit mind games, bit of strategic playing going on right now. Shadow actually getting very close to Choco. It's all really getting close, and I wonder if Choco can have a run at Logic down the start-finish straight. I think Sparks is the slipstream will help him there, but everyone getting very, very close. And really, the breakaway could be between Ronha and Square. That could be where this DRS train starts to fall apart. We've already seen it with Critch down in 10th place, but we've got to remember he's on the mediums, and he will start. That tyre will start to become the race tyre at this race.
Yeah, potentially not too long at all. We've only got a couple more laps to go until the crossover period really there. I say Critch is just starting. Well, I think he's fallen back a little bit, but I think he's going to start, again, just reeling them in, as everyone's really in a pack at the moment. And DRS has been lost between Matthew and Square, as Square has equally lost DRS to Ronha. So now we can see a gap starting to open up. But just look at how close that train is. Square, with a couple of clean laps is going to be right back from DRS range. But it looks like his rear end is so unstable through these corners. The elevation changes just not suiting his car and setup at all at the moment. He looks so shaky on the exit of the corners. Pace is still there though, so obviously he's not losing out too much, but it's not looking the most comfortable drive for the AlphaTauri.
No, he seems to have a nice middle sector though, and look at Ronha all over the back of Shadow through 15, and this could be problematic for Shadow because he's got a lot of, he's got to defend through that. I think he's going to be okay down the back straight, but Ronha is very
Ronha
much
not using ERS.
Yeah,
it's going to be whoever jumps on ERS. When they're separated by around 3 tenths, it's likely to come down to whoever's saving ERS the best and feel to go. We need to mention as well the importance of the undercut in this battle, because seriously, Ronha pitting now will probably get him out easily. I'd say in about P2 and maybe pushing Sparks. Obviously, he's not going to pit now. He's going to give it a couple more laps at least. But we're approaching the point where they might be thinking about giving the undercut a go.
Is there actually gaps between these drivers here? It just looks like it's a paper just fit between them. And if anything, Shadow is the one under real pressure. And I think maybe through 14 to 15, that's where Ronha is going to try his best to make an overtaking opportunity on Shadow, because you could see how close he was at that stage. And if he can time it right, he can still then maybe have the best DRS option and ERS option. But I don't know the full details of everyone and their ERS usage just ahead of him.
Look how close Ronha is on the back of Shadow. He definitely takes in a more aggressive line on entry to the corner, but then Shadow gets a great drive on the exit. So I think Ronha's maybe better for actual pure lap time, but I think Shadow's line's better when we're in a situation where you're actually racing for position. Square, his sector 1 is really poor, but then sector 2 and sector 3 are right. It's really interesting to see how this delta is just changing every couple of corners as Wilson gets past Matthew using a healthy dose of DRS, and he's going to be looking forward as well now, see if he can try to catch up to Square. But equally, he's under pressure behind now from Matthew and Raceway. A little bit of a DRS train there. We have a yellow flag. PSR Lutt, he's round. He's not actually damaged car, I don't believe, using reset track as well. So yeah, that's not gone well for him. Maybe saying that he's a shout for the win. If he doesn't finish, he keeps up his 100% completion win rate at least.
Yeah, maybe he's going to look at that. No, he won't do that. I'm sure he's a competitor full through in heart. But this battle for P1 is really, really mesmerising. And different points. Drivers are all over the back of each other. And it just shows the strategy and the setups that they're using are not all the same. No, absolutely not. You know, you can have varying setups here, quite a bit actually. Depends whether you want to go for, you know, I want to be quick in the corners, I want to be able to follow, then try to use slipstream and DRS down the straight. Or you might just want as much straight as possible. As Shadow, he is the one who blinks first, coming into the pit lane. Shadow going to try and trigger the undercut on the drivers in front of him. This is where it's going to get interesting. I'll try to keep an eye on Shadow's sector times as we're going around compared to everyone else, or gap to the leader at least. This will be really interesting to see how much time he can gain. He's only got to gain about 1.5 seconds, and he could be right up there near P1. So this is where it's all incredibly important, as Lutt is going to keep up his 100% completion win rate because he retires from the race and becomes the first retirement on the grid. So Shadow coming out, all right, he's got an AI car in front of him. The front end, well, all of the tyres at the moment seem incredibly cold as they've just come out the pit lane. So he's going to need a couple of corners before he can start gaining time, even locking up the front right under braking in turn 2. So, you know, he's going to be struggling for just a moment. But let's look back out front. What's going on still? We have a little bit of a gap that Ron Haar's now filling in where Shadow used to be. They've been able to pull away on Square pretty well, actually. They've got a good nearly 2 seconds now. Square maybe just struggling a little bit more. And Wilson, I don't think particularly is closing too much. No, Wilson's not really... after getting past Matthew, he's not really moved on at all, really. Did have a nice little battle between Nico and Luca, and into the pits then is Spark. So it's triggered an undercut attempt, but some of these drivers are not going for it. And we've seen Logic in the past really, really push those tyres a little bit further than anyone else. Ron Hart, Choco, Logic all have their own game plan, and they don't want to get drawn into a battle with Sparks and Shadow with brains right now.
No, absolutely not at the moment. Let's see, it's going to be close between Sparks and Shadow, I think. There's probably only going to be about 1 second in it. Let's see where they come out. Shadow can see Sparks on the right-hand side, and he has flown past. There we go. It was a great final sector for Shadow, and that has just cemented himself. He's in net P1, and obviously that gap now is only going to extend. So when everyone comes out of the pits, it's going to be Shadow in the lead.
Yeah, we thought that might happen. We knew how important that undercut and how strong it is. Did we realise it was going to be that strong? Not 100% sure. But Raceway
not that
up
strong.
the
No, I was
inside
expecting
of
that big a
Matthew.
gap. Ooh.
That was an interesting one through turn 10 and 11. He threw his car up the inside, maybe just to say, go on, Matthew, speed up. I want to have a go at Wilson.
That's a big mistake for Matthew. He's just lost the rear end, under braking, maybe downshifted one too many gears. Oh, and it seemed to be nearly the same mistake for Raceway. Actually, I might have been contact behind from Critch. I think Critch might have just driven into the back of Raceway mid-corner, who was having to slow down because Matthew was struggling himself. Matthew's surely going to come into the pit lane, which he does. Now, Critch should finally be able to overtake a soft runner, and it's about to happen. I imagine he's using straight line speed, uses as much ERS as possible. He pulls out to the right hand side, but not quite enough straight line speed to get the move done. Not enough confidence under braking either, because it's not a very heavy braking zone. Turn 1 very difficult to overtake at unless you have the straight line speed. And honestly, I think Raceway defended pretty well there, just a healthy dose of ERS.
I think he was saved by the DRS that he got from Matthew going into the pits as well. So people are jumping, and I don't know if it might be too soon. I think Shadow might have jumped a bit too soon. Obviously, he's going to have track position. But once these guys start coming at him, is he going to be able to hold off with those near dead tyres at the end? I know the mediums will go a long way here. But let's go back to the front and You can just see how close Ronha is getting to the back of this Haas. The timing squeeze says it all. Let's see as he goes through 13. Very, very close again into 14. This is where he got very close to Shadow and tried overtaking opportunities, but it's just not going to happen on this time around. Choco's got a very, very good run, but Ronha, actually, his second part of the run is very, very quick. Will any of them pit? Surely, before the DRS opens, he's alongside Choco, and that's into P2 for Ronha at the moment. Maybe showing a little bit of class at the moment.
Yeah, it's not looking bad at all. Ronha doing very well there. Just seemed like I'm not quite sure what happened there. Just seems like he got more grip through the corner, and that was a interesting one. Ronha definitely got the straight line speed then, playing into his hands, coming up into P2 as Shadow is just slowly about 4 tenths a lap closing in on the leaders. So, you know, it's definitely going to be a benefit, and he's definitely going to be in the lead when these guys do come into the pit lane. Saying that, Sparks is driving up to the back of him.
Yeah, I wonder how much Sparks will fight Shadow. There was a lot of fighting between the two of them early doors. Fair and respected, obviously. But, you know, teammates, they weren't... it was a bit like Hamilton-Rosberg.
Yes. Respectful, but maybe a little bit aggressive at times as well.
So the penalties are coming in. Not something we've really spoken about. And to be honest, they've held off for a little while.
Track here. Yeah, it's definitely not one of the bigger penalty tracks we go to in the season. It's just a situation, I think, where, you know, a snap of oversteer or a little bit of understeer, you're either, you know, you're forced to cut a corner basically by complete accident or just run wide. Very easy to do as Chili gets passed by Nico, who moves himself up into P9. Into the pit lane comes Square and Logic. So this will be really interesting to see just how far behind they are from Shadow and Sparks. It's going to be a reasonable gap here.
So let's go on board with Shadow and see what he can do as he rounds turn 15 with Sparks all over the back of him. So that's going to help Sparks a little bit, just keep things flowing. But Sparks, fastest man
for good measure.
on the track. Let's have a look from behind. They are way out in front of Logic. In all things said and done, in comparison.
Considering to before, yeah, absolutely, yeah. They've got a good second 1.7 on his head, so, you know, Logic, he's got a bit of work to do, but he's got fresher tyres now, and maybe, you know, track position is obviously incredibly important, but if Shadow and Sparks are going to get drawn into battle, which it absolutely looks like they are, because Sparks is right on the end of that Alfa Romeo, Logic could be in a pretty good stead here, and Square, if he can get up onto these guys as well. But let's think of what Ronha's going to be able to do on a fresh set of mediums.
I wonder if he will pit. That's something else. You know, he's gone long, as has Choco, and he's pulling away from Choco. So, you know, does he really need a pit right now? But the two Ferraris, Luca and Chili, are battling tooth and nail for P8 and 9.
They're not going to take each other out. I'm not having that. They're both having reasonable races so far. We'll have to see how that goes. It does look like Luca absolutely wanting to get past his teammate. Into the pit lane comes Ronha and Choco. So that's it. Nico actually shaping up a move on Leopard. He's going to go round the outside through turn 1. Is he? No, not quite got the front end to give that a go. Is he going to maybe try the inside? No, he's shaping himself up now to get a great cutback, but he has hit the back of the McLaren, and that's going to somewhat scupper his momentum. Let's see where Ronha comes out. It's going to be behind Logic. It absolutely is behind Logic, but he's got fresh tyres and all of the drivers in front of him, so it's a clear run for Ronha now.
Crucially as well, you know, he's ahead of Square. Ahead of Choco, which he didn't really have that much time ahead of him before when these guys were battling. So, you know, it's crucial in that stage for him. But the second DRS train, the one led by Critch at the moment on the mediums, these guys we've barely spoken about in winning terms. They've got a chance here because they can take those softs and really attack the guys ahead. Whether it'll work or not is another thing. We'll have to wait and see. But Nico is looking really, really racy. It's great to see Nico doing this at the moment, and he's made some really, really good overtakes.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking pretty aggressive. He was shaping up that move on Leopard, not quite able to get there. But Leopard actually looking like he can potentially get a move on Clenzo, who's actually doing pretty well. He's P3 on the alternate strategy, so he's doing pretty good. Pretty good race pace so far. Maybe looking at a move on Placky, because Placky doesn't seem to have much straight line speed at all. He seems to just be struggling a little bit more as we head down the straight. No moves to be seen. It's very much DRS train territory. At the moment, it's front end Logic sets the fastest lap of the race. He's got fresher tyres and a lower fuel mode, so that should be a pretty safe one for Logic. That will be beaten when the medium runners come in for the softs, but for the moment, he does hold that extra point.
Yeah, Blackie seems to be struggling, but he's quick in that second sector. Maybe he has gone for that setup, which just allows him just to keep in tow with everyone and cause problems in the middle sector, because there is opportunities to overtake in the middle sector. How very rare they are, but it is possible nonetheless. I mean, towards the end of the race, Shadow 5 laps on those tyres. Ron Haar is only, well, technically it says 0, but he's technically done 1 lap.
Yeah.
Is that, how much of an advantage is that going to give Ron Haar?
Yeah, realistically, we're talking a couple of tenths a lap probably. He's just got that little extra grip coming on the exit of corners. And you know, he's probably going to use that to his best advantage.
Let's go back to Nico then, P5. He's the guy that's looking really, really racy. But Leopard ahead as well. I think Clenzo's got that straight line speed, which is keeping him out of tow from Leopard. But he really has to make a move.
Leopard's got a pretty good run here. Yeah, I think Leopard tried to use the CRS a little bit early, but he's only got 5%, so he's got nothing to play with at all. Looked like maybe for a second Leopard would give it a go, but no, not quite able to keep that momentum going down the whole of the straight. This top 7 is separated by 2.4 seconds at the moment. Absolutely ridiculous stuff. And, you know, we're going to see a similar situation to what we had earlier on. Who's going to come in first and get the undercut? That'll be an interesting one, because they could definitely gain quite a few places. If you're at the back, if you're Luca, in a couple of laps' time, maybe do think of giving it a go, because you're probably going to gain on a fresh set of softs compared to WOR mediums. You're talking easily over about 2 seconds, so that'll be really as well.
What do you reckon? Lap 21 for these guys?
Somewhere in that region. Maybe if you want to push it a little bit earlier, a lap or 2 for an undercut attempt. But that, yeah, I think that's about right.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that one as Ron Haar has actually fallen away from Logic a little bit, which is a little bit of a worry. I don't know if there's any damage to that Red Bull, or maybe he's just warming up.
I imagine, I imagine that's a situation where you've got Logic just making the most of the DRS advantage. I guess that's it, just sort of closing into a gap that was there. We'll see in like a lap or 2 if that trend carries on. That'd be an interesting one. White Choco as well, right on the back of Ron Haar. So those two, they're going to be trying to work their way up once they catch up to this pack, which presumably they will in a little bit. Ron Haar just missing out on the DRS, though, which is quite unfortunate for himself. As actually we see Logic closing right up to the back of Sparks here. I think Logic, absolutely, in a couple of laps' time, could be actually be in front of that Alpine, which will be that'll be something to write home about, especially if you're Shadow looking behind you and seeing that Alfa Romeo.
Well, how much teamwork will Logic and Shadow use, though? I know Logic wants to take victories and all, but I think Sparks is getting a little bit frustrated sat behind Shadow. He knows he really should be in the lead of this Grand Prix, but he didn't do the undercut. He wasn't the one that jumped first, and it was Shadow. Logic is really looking racy, so it's an interesting battle coming through that. But I will go back on Nico, who constantly gets close to the back end of Leopard, who does exactly the same to Colenso through this final sector. And look at Leopard there, trying up the inside of Colenso. He wants this move done and dusted soon. And let's see the 2 Ferraris battling away in the background as well.
Yes, all getting a little bit tasty as Luca is the first driver to come into the pit lane. So Luca going to come in onto a set of softs, I presume. You're taking him a fairly long distance here, so he might need to be a little bit careful, but obviously he wouldn't be doing it if he wasn't sure it's going to work. I'd be very surprised if he puts on a set of hards for sure. That's not going to happen. It's a set of soft tyres. So Luca, he's now he's going to have to do some tyre management for sure, but he can afford to be a little bit more aggressive, at least in the cars ahead of him at the moment. Look around, there's a really good train of cars right out the front, and still looking back, it's still Sparks following Shadow. Logic has actually lost out a little bit. He's just quite a few attempts back now, so maybe making a little bit of a mistake somewhere. He's not got quite as much ERS as the drivers around him, so you know that could be playing a little bit of a part. But yeah, Square has got 4% ERS. He is really pushing to try to break into his ERS. Oh, yeah, I was going with Clenzo's own Leopard.
What a move by LCR Leopard up the inside of turn 10 into 11, picking Clenzo off. Clenzo was sleeping there, and Leopard up, and he just probably fed up of Nico sniffing around his gearbox for the last couple of laps and realised that the only way he's going to get rid of that is by catching Clenzo out, and he's done just that, and now he's got Placky just ahead. Into the pits, Nico. He's going for the undercut as well, and picks up a 5-second penalty for his troubles for it. But what a move from LCR Leopard.
Yeah, just pick that up on the stream. That was an absolutely brilliant move. Just using, I wouldn't even say it's extra grip. Just he got a great exit. Absolutely deciding to send it on Clenzo, and Clenzo no answer at all. I think he'd do very well to defend that one. Looking back, I think we're going to see most of these guys come into a pit lane in the next lap or two, you'd imagine, because the undercut is going to be really, really strong. Even more strong than we saw on the soft runners going to medium.
Well, Luca hasn't actually managed to get through Nico, so that's an interesting one.
That's true.
But
Luca was a good second or so behind him. So yeah, I know. It was probably around the same margin then, which is interesting. We'll have to see how the rest of that unfolds. You never know. Luca might have made a mistake as well somewhere. We'll have to see. Hopefully it's pretty strong, because that, it shakes up the grid just a little bit, and then if we have cars maybe a little bit out of place pace wise, then we could get a couple more overtakes as well, which we never want to miss. Looking back onto the leading scrap, though, it is still Shadow in the net P1, still leading Sparks ahead of Logic, who seems to just have fallen. He's lost touch a little bit. He was effectively. He was pushing Sparks around corners just a little bit earlier. Logic just falling back a little bit more now. Maybe Ronha trying to pile on the pressure and get himself up into what is a net P3 in the race.
Oh, contact between the Ferrari and the Mercedes. So Chile and Clenzo survived that, thankfully. But this is going to be an interesting conundrum for McLaren. Both yet to pit, both on the medium compound tyres. I think one of them has to pit this lap, or otherwise they're in a little bit of danger of causing problems for each other.
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm Leopard, I probably do want to pit this lap. We've seen Leopard take tyres quite long, actually. He's pretty decent on his tyres, can keep him going well. We have a yellow flag out on track. I believe that is for Alfie. I'm pretty sure that's Alfie. It is Alfie. It was Alfie. So he's taking a bit of a spin on those 17-lap-old hard tyres after making that early pit stop.
Clenzo now struggling on those mediums. Maybe it's a lap too long for the Mercedes driver. He's dropping away from Leopard. Leopard definitely had the pace, and Leopard actually showing some really, really nice pace towards the end of this stint on the mediums. Those guys ahead of him pits. He's got one more lap. The Ferrari nearly losing it going into the pits, and Critch picks up a 5-second time penalty. So Leopard will lead part of a lap of this Grand Prix, which I'm sure he's going to savour in himself. But just behind, 5.8 seconds, is Shadow and the net leaders of this race. And Sparks is showing really what he can do now. He's starting to turn up the heat a little bit as Ronha and Choco have joined the battle.
Yeah, it's going to get a little bit more exciting now. I think when we get to the end of this race, that's when the moves are really going to come into play. Sparks so late on the brakes there. I think, as was Logic, it might be the case where actually Shadow was braking a little bit earlier and nearly caused absolute carnage behind him. But still, they all run and there was no contact in the end. I don't believe, at least, maybe a little bit further behind. And, Ronha's got a great run, but he's run wide on the exit, so he keeps out to the left-hand side so as to try and not pick up a warning, which I'm fairly sure he's been able to do. But look at this now. Look how close Sparks is on the back of Shadow. Surely this time he's going to give it a go.
It would look like it, and I think I think Nico's having some major problems because he's dropped well back. Luca is just behind Critch now, so big overtaken, and just like you called it, Luca to pit, and he's done just that, triggered the undercut, and it's worked perfect for him. Leopard into the pits. What can Sparks do? He's 4/10 away from Shadow. Surely he's got enough pace into turn one. Is there going to be enough track? I don't think there is. He holds off an overtake. Maybe Sparks is playing a little bit of a longer game here.
Obviously, they were teammates earlier on in the season, and we saw a lot of this. Sparks was very happy just sort of sit behind Shadow and run races. I'm fairly sure it was Silverstone's one of the most recent memories. I don't know why. I just have an image of them going down the hangar straight with Sparks just right behind. So that's still ongoing at the moment as they're going around. We've got Ronha, though, still right on the back here, and I think it's quite important for his championship here that he's able to get past at least Logic, because it's a good heap of points he's losing at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just trying to remember everything that's happened. Logic went wide through turn 4. Crucially, I'm keeping an eye on the timing board. Leopard stays ahead of Colenso and Chile, so he's exactly where he was, other than Luca's replaced Nico possibly through all that. And no, actually, yeah, no. So Leopard, really, the undercut hasn't affected him too much, and he's going to have nice tyres and probably going to really attack Luca at one point. Let's have a look at this again. Logic then really pushing Sparks again, but I don't think he's close enough. And just ahead, Sparks is up the inside. Will Logic doesn't make a move. I think he would have had an opportunity to attack Shadow then into turn 1, but he thinks better of it, maybe to protect his teammate.
Potentially, yes, because I think that definitely would have forced Shadow wide, which would have given Ronhar a prime opportunity to just send it up the inside, and that is where it gets incredibly important if Ronhar ends up extending his gap. But now we've got White Choco and Square just free, or just under 2 seconds back. Sorry, I'm still in leader mode. That really confused me then. He's just only under 2 seconds behind as well. So he's started closing just a little bit, working on it at the moment. But it seems so shaky on Square's end today. It's really weird to see, because normally we'd expect him up there in this battle, but it just seems like he just keeps losing a tenth here or there, and it's just adding up. It means he's not quite in this scrap this race. But he's hanging on to the back of it, and he can pick up any scraps for sure.
And talking about loose back ends, Logix was very, very loose through 11, and Ronhar tried to see if there was a gap. There wasn't, but, maybe not all smooth in the Alpha camp either. Sparks started to pull away, but let's see what Ronhar can do. He did this a couple of laps ago. Logic is pushing him to the start-finish wall. Shadow is past Sparks. Ronhar is keeping up the inside and forcing Logic to take the off-road. And Logic is now down to P4. Shadow still got the lead, or has retaken the lead. But crucially, Ronhar into P3. And that is not what he would have wanted to hear or see.
No, absolutely not. It's not looking fantastic. So, but yeah, as we look forward now, Sparks, he's, I don't know, we could see a little bit of back and forth now between Shadow and Sparks. I think there's pretty high likelihood of that, because DRS is really powerful. Luca's out the race, and he's actually, I believe, put it in a wall there. So are we going to see a safety car, potentially? If we're going to, it's going to be in just a moment. Where's he done that? That is a very... I think he's retired by himself, hasn't he? He hasn't actually gone into a wall there. He's just manually retired. So maybe a little bit of a spin, and then Luca deciding that the Ferrari curse is well and truly back again.
Yeah, not good for him, unfortunately. But crucially, look at Logic. Logic is really, really struggling, and Square is going to take momentum here.
It's gone as well. Yep.
Wow, Choco through, Square through, Logic struggling. What has happened in the last few for the last lap to this to happen? Square is really attacking Choco, but it's not going to be enough, or is it? Going around the outside, Square showing he's still got it, no matter how squiffy that back end is. He's up into P4, and he's going to cause no end of problems for the guys ahead if he can get into that.
Yeah, absolutely no idea what happened to Logic there at all. I was just seeing the McLaren of Critch. He'd ended up in the gravel trap, so something had gone very wrong on that McLaren. I'm not entirely sure, as he does retire from the race as well. No surprise there, so he's one of the soft runners who will not be improving too much as this race goes on. Leopard slowly closing in onto the back of Matthew, Raceway and Wilson as well. That battle, I think that's probably the best he's going to do. I can't see them closing 8 seconds. That would be very impressive in the laps we have remaining. But yeah, looking back out front, it's now as it has been. We're back to the situation. We're back to the first half of the season. We've got Shadow, Sparks, and Ronhar, and then a bit like how the season's gone, we're approaching the latter half, and all of a sudden, Square's come in out of nowhere and putting in some great performances.
I think that's what you can count Square to do as well. Just be there when the moment is required, and that's exactly what he was doing. He I don't want to say he had no right to be there, because he was just keeping going, keeping tabs of the guys ahead, and then all of a sudden, Logic having the problem, and he's dropping massively. So, I know you said Leopard might not be able to catch that time, but that time is dropping to between Logic and Wilson. Logic's got some problem. I don't know what's going on, but Logic's got some damage.
Yeah, it doesn't appear to be wing damage, but maybe it's really small wing damage that isn't actually visual for us. That very well could be the case, but it's weird to see such a big drop in pace in well, pretty rapid succession, actually. That's not got word for Logic. This must be wing damage. I can only see this being like wing damage. It's just not visual. Because Wilson is closing in at a rate of knots at the moment, a second in the last lap, basically.
Yeah, something's not right there. But let's have a look at Chile and Leopard having a little bit of a ding-dong through from turn 1 to turn 5, and then Chile nearly losing it. But the Ferrari curse hasn't struck him yet. I hope I haven't just jinxed him, but he's doing well and on for some points if he can keep this up. And I'm really interested to see how that battle ends between him and Leopard as well. Let's go back to the front between Ronha, Shadow and Sparks as they come onto the start-finish straight for the 27th time. And these guys really battling it out. There's not much movement at the moment. Sparks looking to try and overtake, but he won't. He'll just follow Shadow through.
Yeah, it's looking all right at the moment for Shadow. He's just holding on, but Sparks really piling on the pressure. And as we come to the last lap, I think that's, well, it's going to be whoever leads into turn 1 on the last lap is probably going to win the race. Unless we can see a dramatic move late on through here, but I don't think it's quite long enough for DRS to play into the driver's hands too much. Ronha, he still wants to say something this race. He'll want to get past Sparks at least. I think Ronha winning the race is probably just about out the question because it's incredibly hard to overtake these two in front of him, especially when they're all pretty much on even pace. Looking behind Square, just falling back a little bit again. Still that 1.8 gap that he has loved so far this race. I think he's going to be a little bit sick of seeing that delta in the top left as we see Matthew and Leopard side by side. Leopard with the soft tyres, he's got so much more grip and trying to follow him through will be Chile in a moment. They're still side by side. Leopard got the outside line, that becomes the inside line, under braking, so much more grip. Chile is going to try to do the cutback as well. He's got the inside and nearly squeezed by the Mercedes driver and he's made contact. Chile, absolutely way too ambitious on those soft tyres, a bit like what Yuki Tsunoda did, and just hitting the car in front of him as well. And that is the Ferrari curse, well and truly in force.
Well, I jinxed it. It was only a couple of laps ago that I said it, and I did it in Mexico for Shadow. Didn't need to pick up a penalty, and he did. And it's happened again. Leopard all over the back of the Williams. And then there is Matthew as well. They're going 3 wide into turn 1, but surely... Surely not, Matthew. Surely not. He picked up a penalty for his troubles. But
yeah.
We are talking exactly. That is incredible. We said exactly the same thing at the same time.
I did not mention it. It's weird. I don't like it. But now Leopard's trying to fight back, and he's going to get the move done.
Are we the same person? I'm not sure. Leopard somehow has managed to reclaim that position, and I feel for Chile. He's at the back of this train, though, so it's not over. But Leopard, 2.6 seconds behind Wilson. This battling has obviously helped Wilson a little bit. But Wilson now 1.6 behind Logic. I don't understand what's happened there as Matthew runs wide. And I think that's the problem, what caused before, which is why these guys are battling away with Leopard, is because Matthew and Raceway were battling away. And Matthew went wide, and he's got a way back through, but that's got to be problematic for Matthew. Something's not right there for him either.
No, I'm absolutely gutted that he picked up that penalty. Clenzo actually getting past Raceway. So Clenzo putting himself into points-paying positions on those soft tyres. And it's Matthew, his teammate, just in front of him. So Clenzo surely going to breeze past... Oh, I tell you what, actually, Raceway using the slipstream DRS and DRS. That is absolutely mega. There's a contact as well as Raceway ends up running wide. Clenzo getting the cutback, making the most of it. Logic, Wilson being passed. Wilson getting past Logic. There we go, that came out eventually. But Logic fighting back and hitting the rear of the Red Bull, actually, with a little bit of a defensive move. So Logic, if he didn't have wing damage before, I think there's a little higher chance of it now. But Wilson's going to get the cutback. This is brilliant racing between two. Neither of them really have any ERS to play with at all. But Logic has the inside line. Wilson round the outside, able to just carry more minimum speed with the wider line. And that is the move done for the Red Bull. Logic continues his drop down the grid with that likely wing damage.
So battles throughout, and you're not really sure which one's best to stay on board with. But let's go on board.
Just got past Logic as well. Chile back past Race. It's absolutely going on at the moment. It's crazy stuff. Yeah.
Defending from Sparks. A little bit of a weave there. We saw that from Max on Sunday night. And they get very, very close, but not enough in the end for Ronha. But like you say, Leopard gets past Logic. Logic has some serious problems. And now Logic struggling to keep up with the guys there. And, Shadow, 20 laps, Sparks, 19. Ronha surely not around the outside of turn 5 with a switchback possibility.
Cutback maybe. It's got a great cutback. That's amazing. And so I expect is Ronha now. He's absolutely going for it. He's going to be forced around the outside. That's not going to happen. But he gets the cutback again. No, again, well defended from Sparks. He's got great racecraft. He absolutely knows what he's doing when defending. Sparks, he does not want to be looking in his mirrors. He wants to have his eyes forward on the Alfa Romeo, his former teammate ahead of him, who at the moment is making great inroads into the championship lead of Ronha, down to 3 points at the end of this race as it stands.
It'll be interesting to see where the fastest lap has gone to. I'll check on that in a second. It's currently chilly, so that's an interesting one. Outside of the top 10 at the moment, into 11th, I should say. So we'll keep on board with this. But Ronha gets such a better line through 15 and wonder if he's just not got enough in the tank.
He's got no ERS, though.
Do you save a little bit? I mean, on 31, how much more saving can you do? The tyres on the two ahead are going to be problematic.
He's just absolutely ploughed into the back of Sparks. That's surely wing damage. There is no way that wing has not got damage there. Is that a weave of apology? It must be. I can't see Sparks doing anything wrong there, surely.
I think the problem he's got is that Ronha specifically, the guys ahead up having to brake that little bit early because of the tyre life they've put into those 21 and 20 lap respectively, and he's only on 16. Ronha's able to brake later than the guys ahead, and it's actually bringing Square into play, which is probably not what any of the top 3 want.
No, absolutely not at the moment. So Square just closing in. That 1.8 has gone, and hopefully he won't have to look at that another point in this race. He's closing in, might have DRS, but it's a massive... He's actually just drifting around the corner there as Square, so... maybe that's not going to help too much, but here we go, Ronha, absolutely right on the back of Sparks. Sparks, he's going to get DRS, but absolutely no help from the slipstream at all, as Ronha, this could be pivotal in the end, as we have the championship fight. Sparks really putting on the push over to the pit wall, and it's the inside line for Ronha, going to push the Alpine wide, surely. He does a little bit as the Alpine does run off track, and I assume picked up a warning as well. But Ronha up into P2 and claiming an extra 3 points in this championship battle. He's still going to be losing out, but by a little bit less.
This is exactly what I think Ronha was planning.
With a lap to go as well, this could be interesting.
Be further back, so he wanted the tyre life to attack these guys, and this is exactly what I've got. I'm not sure what Shadow's ERS's usage is like, but Leopard up into P6. Choco still battling with Square for P4 as well, so I'll be interested to see how that all pans out as well. Penalties coming thick and far, with Ronha being one of them.
Yeah, that is absolutely massive. All that hard work undone, and at the moment, he will be falling all the way back down to P5, which should put Shadow, I believe, into the championship lead. So that penalty, absolutely massive for championship implications.
Definitely, and it's on lap 32. He's got a chance to pull away, maybe to push it to P4. Obviously, Shadow, Sparks, Square, Choco can all get a penalty at this point. I don't think Leopard, he's 13 seconds behind, but here comes Ronha up the inside. Shadow not really fighting with Ronha, his championship battle. Oh, but a switchback is on for the Alfa Romeo, and he somehow doesn't get the switchback done.
Jeez. Sparks locking up his fronts as well, nearly ploughing into the back of Shadow, and that would have been very dramatic indeed. At the moment, Ronha, he's going to win it on track by the looks of it, but he's only got 1.3 seconds to White Choco in 5th. I tell you what, I want this to go on for a couple more laps. It's really closed in at the moment. And yeah, the way we see this going, I can't see Ronha finishing any higher than 5th.
No, unless there's a coming together. This is how. This is a problem. Last lap, anything's possible. Yellow flag in sector 2, and that is Logic pulling over, and I think causing problems. Yellow flag, and I wonder if that's a little bit of gamemanship there, causing people to slow down just that little bit. But Ronha is pulling away a little bit. Sparks 2.2 seconds behind Shadow. Square 0.3. Choco 0.3 as well. So it's very, very close. Ronha looking like P5.
Yeah, it's only 1.6 seconds to the Haas of Choco in 5th place. So, Ronhart, it has been a great drive. He's going to win it on track, but he will drop down to P5 on penalties. That is a way to end up. What an absolute... I think we might have a little bit of a graveyard going on at the end of the straight. But, yeah, so Shadow picking up a win and taking the championship lead into the final 3 races.
Yeah, 3 rounds remaining. Leopard into P6 then. Wilson dropping down the order a little bit with the penalties he's received. So Colenso in 7th. Great race for Colenso. Placky in 8th. 9th to Matthew and 10th to Wilson. And Chile in the end, agonisingly close to points, but just not enough. And it's such a shame for the Ferrari driver. Alfie coming home in 12th. 13th for Raceway there. Logic, Alfie and Raceway are still battling, aren't they? So,
yeah.
Don't crash, guys. Don't crash. Come on, they're pretty much
attached. That's absolutely crazy. They're running each other off the road. And okay, yeah, I think a little bit of fun between them as they cross that. A little bit of anger, actually. Yeah, a bit of both. That was absolutely crazy through the final corner to be that close, and for a while there was no contact. Sort of fell away a little bit at the end, but yeah, that was an absolutely brilliant end.
What a cracking Portimao Grand Prix. Always a little bit worried with how these new tracks turn out for these guys, but it's worked well, and Shadow has taken victory, and what a way to do it as well, to to take the lead of the championship, and more crucially, Ronhar to be moved down to 5th. So that's some crazy point deduction there for Ronhar, and that's not what we expected at the start of this Grand Prix. A little bit surprised through it all, but your driver of the day.
Oh, God. I'm going to go with... I really don't know. I really don't know who to go with. Obviously, it looks like a really impressive performance from on paper, and he did do a pretty good job. He was able to overtake the cars well. But I feel like he just maybe wasn't quite in the mix enough. I would maybe go with Shadow, to be fair, because that was a really good drive to claim the win.
Right then, Shadow. Victor here in Portimao. Sparks in 2nd place and Square in 3rd. 4th place going to Choco, with 5th going to Ronhar. 6th, Leopard. 7th, Colenso. 8th, Placky. 9th, Matthew. And then 10th going to Wilson. We had DNFs, or a disqualification as well for Trivion. I'm not sure what happened there. Apparently he didn't use the allocated tyres.
Right tyres. Did he not?
Luca, Rich, DNFing as well. Nico, I think, left. So Connor, Alfie, Raceway, Logic, and Chile are the ones outside of the top 10, so that is crazy in itself. And we'll see if anyone will pop into the waiting room. We've something we've missed in a while. These guys just maybe I smell. Maybe they don't like the smell of me. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, absolutely cracking race, and there's no really way to. To round this one out. Square, not the best we've seen of him this season, but he was there at the right moments. Ronhar, that 3-second time penalty late on, and it's not the first time we've seen that happen this season, actually. Ronhar picking up a late penalty.
No, absolutely not, and it's got massive consequences. That penalty has very much potentially just cost him the title. That is, I would say, because it's probably going to be really close coming into the last race. That very much could have done it.
Well, it's a massive
Obviously, still a long way to go,
isn't it?
Yeah,
it
absolutely is. Yeah,
going to win it to going for 5th, and instead of extending his lead, he's lost it. Yeah.
We thought worst case scenario that lead was, it's going to come down to about 5 points, maybe 3, but it is absolutely gone. That wall has completely been torn down now, and it's Shadow who is going to become the hunted as we head into the last 3 races. So this will get hopefully a little bit more tasty. It's swung back and forth all season. The gap has extended and come back down. So. There's absolutely no doubt it's going to happen again. And like we said, there's no dominant driver. Like these are the top 2, Shadow and Ronhar, but they're not going to be finishing 1st and 2nd. It's not like Verstappen and Hamilton. They're not going to be coming 1 and 2 every race. We could easily have a race next time out where they come 3rd and 5th. So, it's going to be interesting to see how the season unfolds, because other drivers really are in the mix now.
Now, for some reason, it's not taking me out of the
No, it's not taking me out either.
No. So we'll go to the podium question screen, everybody, and we'll wait around a little bit. This has been an absolute incredible race, and you know I like doing a little bit of a Ted's notebook, I suppose you could call it, towards the end, and you know we haven't spoken about Logic. What a drop off! How?
Yeah, absolutely. That must have been wing damage. There's no question. Surely he must have picked. I'm not sure where he picked it up. There was a couple of times where he did just sort of lightly tap the car in front of him, but yeah, obviously he must have missed something fairly a little bit more major.
Yeah, something substantial has got to have happened, but that's I guess it's a problem with the game. You know, we don't see anything.
Yeah.
It would be nice for something to pop up
When there's contact or something, damage, yeah.
Yeah, just to indicate that there is damage to a car. Not maybe to see on our point, like from the mainstream's point of view, but for yourself to quickly pop in and check. Actually, yes, there is damage for that. I mean, we're somehow moving into a Cody's this is how to make your game better stream all of a sudden. But Clenzo, we didn't speak about him very often, but you said at the start of the race he was in a perfect position, and actually he did really, really well.
I said it'd be about midfield and the points. Yeah, he's actually been pretty much what we expected of him, and you know he had a really solid race, was able to get the moves done. A little bit held back in traffic here and there, but I think that was the story for a lot of the grid, really.
And Nico, it's a race of what could have been for him. We were cheering him on at one point. He was doing some great. He was aggressive, but the right type of aggressive.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it's a real shame because, you know, for a moment it looked like he could do really well today. But just losing out on Critch as well. He had a little escapade into the gravel traps, and that cost him. In the end, he retired when he came into the pits. And yeah, looking around, it was a day of frustrations for everyone in the lower end of the midfield. Raceway was involved in so many battles today. I think I'm not sure how clean a lot of them were, actually. Not necessarily even his fault, but I remember him being in the wars quite a bit. So obviously they build the cars quite strong down at Williams, and maybe just have a look at it. But no, for the most part, I was all pretty good. And Chile not able to score points again, which is really unlucky. And was this down to penalties, actually, in the end? It would have been. He'd have been in the points were it not for the 3-second penalty. That's so painful. Again, Chile missing out with worries. But yeah, I think that's the most part.
Now, you said about the Williams being built pretty strong. I'm pretty sure, maybe, very, very maybe, they're sponsored by Volvos. Anyway, I think that's about all we can really wrap up for. There's no one popping in to give us a hello. It's a shame. However, we run with it. We'll go with it. We'll do our little talks at the end of the show. I think they don't make up for it, but they fill a small void. As the season stands, Shadow is now in the championship lead, and that's where we will go and find out exactly what will happen at Imola next week. I cannot wait. It's a very, very technical track like Portimao, very difficult to overtake, but these guys are going to give us a show. If it's anything like today, well, Beacon, I'm going to enjoy it.
Oh,
I'm pretty certain you are as well.
Yeah, if it's anything like pretty much every race we've had this season, there's going to be some drama, and could we see the championships twist and turn one more time? I think there's definitely quite a few more twists in this tale for sure.
Now, don't forget, WOR is a full week stream. There is always a stream on. Go check us out on Twitter and find out all the information and how it's all going to pan out. There you get every small bit of information that you need from there. And then the big ones, obviously, with George Morgan on a Sunday with Ginger Andy. That's going to be a phenomenal one in itself. But from Beacon and I think it's time to say goodbye and maybe run the intro one last time.
Antoine is going to be crowned your WOR Season 10 champion.
And history's been made. Ballina, the first WOR PS4 champion. What a championship! What a season! phenomenal.